Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of the Get Clarity Challenge. I hope you did your homework from last time, decluttering your digital spaces, decluttering your minds. Hello, everyone. Hi, Tinu. Hi, Oscar, Anlene, Cyril, Sandy, Urku, everyone. Welcome. So I'm going to share my screen and let's get started. So last time we talked about decluttering, right? Our minds and our digital spaces. This time we're going to start planning and focusing, right? Because we looked at our commitments for all the projects and goals and all the things we want to do. Now we want to learn how to plan them. Okay, so how do we start with planning? First, what is planning, right? Planning is not about setting concrete steps. Just like our life vision is ever changing and our goals might be changing because we are a different person every single day as we grow. Our plans cannot be concrete because our plans are what take us from where we are to where we want to be, right? So the way we want to start with planning is we are going to set our essential intent, which means focusing on intention and not expectations. We usually have expectations, and I don't know if you're familiar with William Shakespeare said this, I believe, that expectations are the mother of all heartache. When we expect things and they don't happen, then we are frustrated and disappointed, right? So instead of setting expectations or having expectations, we want to have intentions. And for me, intention means I intend to do something. When I say I intend to do something, I'm saying I could do this. I'm choosing to do this, but I'm not saying I must do this. I should do this, right? So it's a choice, and it feels like it's okay if something else happens. It doesn't mean that, yes, I'm careless and there's no plan at all. That's the thing with intention. You're saying this is my intention. I would love to do this, and that's where I want to direct my focus on. It's not it's the opposite of expectation, where you're expecting to succeed or expecting that you're going to get from place A to B without traffic, and then you get disappointed. So essential intent mainly is about achieving clarity in what we do, which is basically what planning is. Just having that clarity before taking action. Because when you start taking action without the clarity, it's going to be a mess. So for example, let's say you give a basketball to a child. What do you expect them to do with that ball? Even if you place them in a basketball field, what are they going to do? They might throw the ball, they might kick the ball, they might hit the wall with it, they might hit someone else with it, they might even sit on the ball, right? They don't know what to do with the ball. Can we blame them? Can we tell them, hey, that's not how you play the game? If we don't give them the directions, if we don't know the rule, they don't know the rules, they don't know the target, it's not going to help them. Like they're not going to know. And they're going to waste their time playing around instead of playing the game. It's similar with our plan. When we don't have a plan, when we don't have a target to get to, we're kind of all over the place. We're doing things, busy work, right? Just like the kid is playing with the ball without aimlessly, unless that's what we want, right? Sometimes we want to just have fun without direction. That's totally fine. But here we're talking about how to achieve a goal, right? If we don't have a plan for that goal, we're going to be spending our time on trivial things, busy work. So that's what plan is. It's all about setting, answering. Here's the simplest way. Answering the following questions: the what, the why, the how, the when, the where. when do I need to do this? Where am I going to do this? What do I need to do to get from here to there, to achieve this goal, to honor this commitment, right? All these questions. So that's kind of what goal setting is and essential intent is. So as life bookers, we have a life vision, we have goals, right? That's kind of the target, but they won't get, like, we can't achieve them if we don't take action, if we don't have a mission, which is the plan to get there. So that's what essential intent is. So basically, when you wake up in the morning, you want to have an essential intent for your day. You want to have an essential intent for your week, for your month, for the year. So that's where daily planning or monthly planning or weekly planning comes in. When you have a meeting, you want to have an essential intent. Like, what is the aim of this meeting? What do I want to get at the end of this meeting, right? So every time you want to do something, you have an essential intent. Like if you go into the kitchen to prepare dinner, that's your essential intent. You're not going to, if you don't have that essential intent and you go to the kitchen, you might say, oh, let me put the dishes away. Let me do the dishes. Let me make cookies. You need to have the plan. You need to have that essential intent. So you direct your focus. Okay, makes sense? So as essentialists, right? As essentialists, we want to direct our focus and energy toward our life vision, toward that goal, toward that target. If we let our focus and energy be scattered around, just like with the kitchen example before, if we don't have an essential intent before we take action, or a plan before we take action, we're going to spend our energy in all the different directions, and then we're going to feel exhausted, and we're going to be where we are. We're not going to move forward. But if we focus our energy toward a target, and we have a plan, we have an action plan, we have steps, one after the other, we're going to make progress, right? And it's going to be even faster. And sometimes that's it. That's what's blocking us. We just don't have a plan, and we're all over the place. So that's what this graphic from the book Essentialism is all about. I don't know if you're familiar with this saying, where your attention goes, energy flows. Where your attention goes, energy flows. So if you don't have an attention, like a focus, a point of focus, your energy is going to go everywhere, and you're going to be drained very quickly. And another quote that I really, really love that reminds me, when I see this image, it reminds me of that quote, is from Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was into martial arts, if you're not familiar with Bruce Lee. What he said was, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. So what does he mean? If in his example, he was saying, if a person who's learning martial arts has learned 10,000 different kinds of ways to beat me, I'm not afraid of them because I can stop them. But if they have practiced one specific kind of move, I'm definitely afraid of them because they have mastered it. So this is why I love this quote, because what happens, oops, sorry, I don't know how to go back. Okay, good. So because when we direct our focus toward our life vision and toward, we focus on our goals instead of scattering our energy, what we're doing is we're gaining expertise. We're getting there faster, and we're gaining expertise. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean that we become superior to others and so on. It's not related to others. What expertise does is it makes the journey effortless. The more you practice something, the easier it is for you to do, right? The less time it takes for you to do. That's why it's very, very important that when someone introduces something new to us, we're not distracted by its novelty. Like, ooh, this is new, this is beautiful, let me get into that. Like, if you're happy with work, if you're good at what you do, don't switch careers, because switching careers into something that you've never experienced before and never practiced before means you're back to square one. You don't have any expertise. It will take you hours to, start working on that. And it would take you time, years even, to start to feel effortless and do less work. So for example, some people work for a company 9 to 5 for years. And at age 40, they say, I want to start my own company, but they go into something that they're not experts in. What that means is you need to learn all the new things, do things that you've never done before. You're starting from here, from the bottom of the pyramid. It takes a lot of effort. It will take you a lot of days and time. While if you use your expertise from your previous work and say, I'm going to write a book about my experience, let's say, or I'm going to be consulting with my experience, it's going to feel effortless because you're an expert already. You've done this, you know how to do this. And this is also applicable to planning. What we're going to learn today, when you start planning, it will feel like, oh my God, I need to plan every single thing. Gradually, you'll realize that you're becoming more and more it becomes second nature, and you can do this effortlessly. So that's kind of the aim. I'm not showing a pyramid. Sorry, I'm showing, yes, I'm talking about the slide. Yes, exactly. So we do start again with decluttering our minds. Why? Because it all comes back to having a calm mind so we can focus, right? So for example, when do we do this? Every morning when you wake up, if the mental chatter starts, you need to declutter your mind. You need to write down everything that's popping in your mind, right? So that you can meditate. Even before meditation, sometimes I'm meditating and ideas come. Oh, not now. Well, you need to write those down, put them out of your head so you can meditate, so you can focus on your morning ritual. When do you need to declutter your mind? Before bed. If you go to bed and you're thinking about what you want to do next day, write them down so you don't think of them and you sleep well. You want to declutter your mind before a meeting, after a meeting, so that all the things that you discussed and all the ideas that inspired, you have them on paper. And now you can focus on what's next, what's after that meeting. Or before the meeting, you need to focus on the meeting. So you need to put everything on a paper before you can, so that you can focus on the meeting. So basically, every time you feel overwhelmed or you feel that the mental chatter is not, incessant, you want to declutter your mind. Now, what we want to learn here is that when we declutter, when we do the decluttering, just like we did last time, we're using pen and paper, or we're using maybe a notepad or a notes tool or app on our phone or device. We're basically creating a new list that we need to manage. Now, it's okay at the beginning, but what we're going to learn is something very essential, which is how to use this, the information that we wrote down. Before that, I want you to take a minute again, like last time, to declutter your mind right now. Whatever is in your mind right now, I want you to write it down. I'm going to play this timer, and I'm going to give you a minute to just declutter your mind. Okay. Okay, time's up. Do you feel like you have more clarity right now? Meaning your brain is kind of more empty than it was before, if I can say that. Or did it incite more, did this exercise make you think about things more now? Sometimes it can do that. Okay, so you need to make sure that you allocate time to declutter your mind. You don't want to say, oh, I'm in a rush. And this is what we're going to talk about with planning and scheduling, and how important it is to really give things time. Because just like people say, I don't have time to meditate. That's when we need meditation the most. It's the same with the decluttering. Because if we don't declutter our mind before a meeting, we might not be super focused. And what's the aim of that meeting? What are we gaining from that? Or if you're going to read a book and you have other things on your mind, you're not focused. What's the gain from that, reading the book? Is it, yes, I read 20 minutes, check. Is that it? Is that the aim? Or is it really about what we're learning from our reading? You don't need to schedule specific amount of time, but you just need to make sure that you put everything down on paper. If you feel, usually I would set a timer of a minute or 90 seconds, but the aim is to have everything on paper. The time when you should, I think you would, I wouldn't say you should, you would schedule is when you think that when you find yourself writing down incessantly, right? Like there's more coming up, there's more coming up. That's when you want to set a timer and then ask yourself, what is happening? Why do I have all these items on my mind? And what are they, right? Usually this can become, if you have a lot to write about, because this is important. It's mental declutter is different than journaling, but you can turn it into journaling. So if more ideas are flowing, journal, make it a journaling habit. That's when you can give yourself up to 20 minutes, even more time to write in the morning. So there's a difference between typing and writing, yes. Writing, both of them use your motor skills, and that helps solidify information more in most cases, but writing by hand has a lot of benefits based on research. But I would say always go back to yourself. I wouldn't look at research that much, because they find something today, 10 years later they find something else. Experiment with yourself. You see which one is better for you. Usually one technique works better than the other depending on what you're doing. So for example, if you want to do a brain dump, you want to get the ideas out as fast as possible, maybe you want to type them. Sometimes I actually dictate them. Now you have microphones on your phone. I just talk and it writes down everything I say. It's faster for me sometimes. Although when you say things out loud, you're also slowing down your mind. And that's what, when you're writing as well, you're slowing down your mind. Sometimes you can't keep up. So be mindful of that. But experiment with dictating, with typing, with writing, see which one works for you and for what reason. So for example, I write by hand when I want to slow down my mind. I make sure that I am intentional, that my handwriting is beautiful, so I can slow down, because it will be gibberish if I don't. But that's an activity, and this is something I think would be helpful. If your mind is super fast, and it's really overwhelming you, you're feeling like, oh my God, a million thoughts in a second are going through my mind right now. Try to do something that slows you down. And the way I would do this is either by writing and making sure that every single letter is beautifully written, or by starting to run and then turning that into a walk. So I have a treadmill, I use that because what I'm doing is I'm recreating my mind's speed. I'm running and then I'm slowing down. The moment I slow down my body, my mind starts to slow down with it as well. So it depends. Again, you have to experiment to find out what works for you. Great questions, by the way. Thank you. Which screen are you talking about? Oops. The slides. Do you guys see the slides? Oh, no. Let's see. It says it's sharing. I'm sharing. I don't have anything, by the way, on the slide. They're just a bunch of words, reminders for me, basically. So no worries. So the next thing we do is with decluttering. In this phase, remember the last time when we decluttered our mind, what we did was we wrote down what our commitments were. In this phase, when we're planning what we want to do, and I'm going to stop sharing and reshare, maybe if that would help. Let's see. Can you see now? Gray box. That's strange. Yes. What do you see? Oops. Let's go back. Should say declutter your mind right now. Okay, great. So when we declutter our minds in this instance, when it comes to planning, what we're doing is we're going to choose our overriding goal or our project or whatever it is that we want to plan. Okay, we want to take that and we want to list down all the things that come up. So for example, let's say you have a new project you want to start on. How do you plan it? You do a declutter or a quick kind of brainstorm. You start writing down all the things that come up, like all the steps you think you need to do, you write them down. Next, you put them in order, like which should I do first, which should I do next? And then you group them depending on your approach. So for example, you might group them as milestones. For example, I'm planning on moving to another country. So my list will be the different things I want to do for that. And I would group them under milestones like get residency for that country. What do I need to do to get that residency? Next, move to that country. What do I need to do to move to that country? And so on. So, and then in each task, there might be subtasks, like find an apartment or, accommodations. I might have subtasks for that will go under that. So basically what you're doing is writing down all the things that are top of mind for you to do, and then kind of organizing them that way. The next thing will be to use the table I gave you last time for prioritization to eliminate all the steps that you wrote down that you don't need to do. So we write down things sometimes and we don't organize them, and we start working on things that probably aren't as important. So decide what is essential, what you can eliminate, saying, okay, do I actually really need to do this? If not, eliminate it. Do I enjoy doing this? If not, can I delegate it? Or do I know how to do this? If not, who knows how to do this? Can they help me, or can they actually do it for me? Who can I pay to do this for me, right? So ask all these questions and prioritize, eliminate, delegate, and even consolidate. Sometimes we write down the same idea in different ways. Make sure to consolidate them into one task. Now, what we did is we took a project, we wrote down all the steps, we organized it, and we kind of simplified it as much as possible. By simplifying, we didn't simplify the tasks. We simplified the project, the plan. We eliminated tasks. So that's the aim, eliminate or delegate as much as possible, or even automate some of them. So with my move example, for example, all the tasks I had for the residency, they felt so overwhelming for me. I'm like, I have no idea what I need to do, like all these things that I need to do. And I even had steps, like I'm sure I was missing steps because I didn't know all the things I needed to do, right? So what I did was I went to a law firm and I asked them if they can do the entire process for me. They're like, yeah, you pay us the money, we do it. So I delegated the entire thing. Now, what I need to do is every time they ask me to do something, like I might ask for documentation, they might ask for money, they might ask for different things. I'll just do what they ask me to do. And I know that I can trust that they will give me the right course of action or tasks to do. So just use these approaches that John keeps talking about: eliminate, prioritize, delegate, consolidate, to make sure that your plan is as concise as possible so that you have less to do to get to the goal. Okay? Now, before we dive into more of the planning, I want to talk about some principles. And one of the principles I want to mention now is something I live by, which is a place for everything and everything in its place. This is a saying that my mom keeps repeating, and ever since we were kids. And I think that's why I love to have an organized environment, and it has helped me a lot. So I wanted to share how helpful this has been. So remember, we did the decluttering. Now I want to teach you how to take that piece of paper or notepad or note app that you use, where you wrote down everything, how you can change this process from writing down everything in one place and then moving it where it needs to go. The first step is that, just like you wrote down everything, we want to make sure that we move things where they need to be. So the first one is, once you did the decluttering, what I want you to do is I want you to place a dot, make it bold, bigger dots in front of each item you wrote. Next, if you don't have anything to do after doing the declutter, if you don't have anything urgent or time sensitive, look at the items that you have that are tasks that you need to do and see if you can do any of them now. Like if it takes less than 2 minutes. Like, oh, I have forgotten to water the plants for the past 3 days. If it takes me less than 2 minutes, let me just do them now and cross out. If you can do something, cross it out, cross that dot out. Anything you cannot do, you want to move it where it needs to be. And this is where, when we start planning things, we will be creating those places. So for example, if you start a project, right? Any goal, any commitment, when you turn it into a project, when you plan it, it becomes a project. You want to use a project managing app or a software or a notebook, whatever tool you choose to write these steps down on. That's where you need to have any notes or tasks related to it. Okay, makes sense? So for example, I'm gonna cheer you up a little bit. Let's shake things up and give you some funny examples. So when you're in the bathroom, sitting on a toilet seat, where do you want the toilet paper to be? You want it to be right next to you, right? Where you sit at. You don't want to be moving. You don't want it to be in the attic. You don't want it to be in the kitchen. You definitely don't want it to be in the supermarket. You want it right where you need it. So remember the YouTube playlists that we had from last time, or Pinterest boards? Where are they? And where's your project? Why are we putting those things, hoarding those things, or saving those things somewhere where we'll never look when we are focused on the project? Because when you're focused on the project, you're looking at the plan, right? You're looking at, okay, what is my next step? This, I'm going to do this. Next, I'm going to do that. Do I have all the information I need to take that step where it needs to be? So if any note or any link or any resource is related to a task, it needs to be with the task. If it's related to an entire project, it needs to be with the entire project. And usually it should be with the task, because even the project goals are like, they're in the house, but they're not in the bathroom and they're not close to you where you need it, right? So keep that in mind. Create places for things, and remember that the place needs to be convenient. It has to be where you want it. You don't want to throw things in the attic and then go buy the same stuff because you forgot that you have them in the attic, right? So this is why this, I love to use this principle so much in my life. It has helped me so much with a lot of things. And this is where the planning comes in. So when we're planning, I have also a formula that I use for a plan, like a general formula that I use for a plan. We want to know what we want to do to prepare, right? The first time, like if we want to create a template for planning, I would say, what is the preparation I need? What are the ingredients I need? I love to use a lot of recipes, food analogies, and use recipes for a lot of things because I love that recipes are structured. So you'll hear me say recipes a lot and ingredients a lot. So what are the ingredients I need for this project? What are the preparation steps? Then what are the steps I need to take to actually get from point A to point B? And planning is actually in the preparation, right? And then the most important that we all forget is, what are the cleanup steps? How do I finish this project? It's not when we get to the target. That's not it. We still have the cleanup. For example, if you're going to prepare a meal, do you just start, turn on the fire, put on the oil, and then, oops, I don't have onions? You don't do that, right? We want to look at the ingredient list. We're going to say, first, what am I cooking? What's my essential intent? I want to cook a meal. What is the meal? I want to be specific about that. And then I go to the pantry, because if I don't have an essential intent, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to cook today. I go to the pantry, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have all these ingredients. I can do this, I can cook that, I can cook that. And you're creating this overwhelm for yourself. It's the same if you have a huge library in your house. If you're not clear on what you want to read, and you go into the room, you're going to be overwhelmed of all the choices you have. Which book do you choose? So that's where the essential intent comes in. I have an essential intent. I know what I'm cooking. I go into the kitchen. I look at the pantry. I look in the fridge if I have all the ingredients or not. How many of us have gone to the supermarket, bought ingredients we already have at home because we didn't check the fridge before we left? Guilty. Right? Yeah. How many of us have started to cook and then realized, oh my God, I should have had this. Like, it's a staple food. Damn, I forgot. So it's super important that we have all the ingredients. This is part of the preparation. Ingredients also means, like, in cooking, it's obvious, but it also means other things. So for example, I used to even plan my showers, and people laugh at this example. Like, do you really plan your shower? Like, yes, if I don't want to set myself for frustration, I plan for my shower. What does that mean? It means, okay, I want to check that no one else is going to shower at this specific hour because I want to shower right before a meeting or before going out. I want to make sure that the household people, living with me, know that I want to shower at this specific time and they're not going to delay me. I'm not setting myself. The planning is for me to set myself to success and not for frustration. So that's the first thing. The second thing, and these are kind of what I call also ingredients, is, do I have my towel with me? I have forgotten to take my towel with me a few times. And I'm like, frustration, just because I didn't focus on what I can control and I didn't plan. I go into the shower and there's no shampoo. I go out and I, make a scene in front of the entire family, like, who was the last person who showered and they didn't tell us, they used up all the shampoo. I'm setting myself for frustration. I cannot teach people to come and tell me that there's no shampoo or to buy the shampoo. I can control myself. So if I'm planning, I can go and check if there is shampoo, if I have my towel, etc. Right? So planning obviously is just making sure we're not setting ourselves to frustration. It's the same when we go to a meeting and we're late and we blame the traffic and we blame the taxi driver. But if we had planned already for that, if we took into consideration all the things that can go wrong, like traffic, right? We're setting ourselves for success. And this is huge. This is most important part of any project, like succeeding or failing at any project. Planning, this is why planning is important, because we are making sure that we're not setting ourselves for frustration. We are making sure that we are controlling what we can control. So this is where this comes in, a place for everything as well. Like that's kind of the structure. So the first part is making sure that I have the ingredients and I know all the steps I need to take to prepare. The next is the action steps, which we'll talk about in the third session next week. And the last one is the cleanup. If I make food and I don't clean up the kitchen afterward, I'm leaving a mess, right? So I need to have a cleanup. It's the same with any kind of project. If you do any project on your computer and you have files and folders, what do you want to do with them? Do you want to archive them? Do you want to delete them? The thing is, if we don't do them immediately, they will become a clutter and we have to do spring cleaning. And this is the difference between an organized person versus the act of organizing, which is an unfruitful action, to be honest, and it's a time thief. If you're not organized, if you don't do the cleanup after every project, what will happen is that we will have to schedule time to declutter or to clean up afterward, and we will have a huge mess to clean up later. Well, if we do it immediately, especially with projects or a meeting, let's take the shortest, smallest amount thing. Let's say we have a meeting, okay? You want to prepare for that meeting. You want to make sure that you have all the things you need to have with you, the ingredients at the meeting. You need to make sure that oh wait, I need to do makeup, I need to do my hair, and I need to get, wear my clothes. All those things are part of the meeting. If you have to go somewhere, the time, the commute is part of the meeting. You want to make sure that you have that set up so there's no frustration and that you are really, truly present and available and focused. After we do the meeting, you wrote down notes. There's a cleanup. There's a lot of ideas in your head. You want to do the cleanup, which is do a mental declutter, write down everything that you have in your mind, and then put them where they need to be. Did you come up with new tasks that you need to do? Where do they need to go? Put them in the plan. Did you write some notes of, usually what are notes actually? That would be a good workshop we can do in the future. Where do they need to go? That's the cleanup. Now you're ready for the next meeting. And you don't feel that exhaustion or that your energy is depleted, because the more we have on our minds or the more we have on pieces of paper, imagine you have 3 meetings back to back, and then at the end of the day, you're exhausted fully. You have a million ideas from 3 different topics in your mind. You have a lot of notes on paper or somewhere on your computer, and you don't know what to do with them, right? So that's kind of the structure I have, the template I have for planning, which is preparation, ingredients, action steps, and cleanup. Any questions so far? Am I going too fast? There's so much to cover here. I think this should have been multiple workshops. So next, what we want to do is we want to also, before I move to this section about removing obstacles, what we also want to do is we want to look at all our tasks, and this is what we're doing with our other workshop series we're doing with the growth plan setting series, the GPS series I'm doing with Christian every Sunday. What we're doing is we're talking about identifying your knowledge gaps. So when you look at the steps that remained, right, we did the elimination, delegation, all the steps that remained, we want to start looking where our gaps are. Like if you want to look at every step and say, is this easy? Can I do this, right? Or is this intimidating? and we want to start challenging our premises here. Do I have a limiting belief here? Is there something that's holding me back from taking action on this step? What are the things I need to do? So maybe before this step, I want to add a research or a learning step because I identified a knowledge gap, right? So we want to make sure that we don't jump directly into research. We want to ask those questions. And I'm not going to go deep here because we covered this in yesterday's session with Christian. You can watch that. But basically, we want to identify, do I already have enough information and skill to do this task, this next task? Or am I, kind of creating an excuse not to do this and going to do additional research and so on? Obviously, in planning, we're looking for ingredients. When we're looking for ingredients and preparation, we want to ask ourselves, do I have enough time to do this next step? And when is that time to do the scheduling, which I'll get to in a few minutes, and so on. And I have listed all of these in your in the same workbook that I gave you last time. Okay, there are a lot of questions that you can use. Now, here, what we want to do is we want to start removing some of the obstacles. And the first thing is we want to make sure that each step is easier than we think it is, right? So one of the limiting beliefs we have is that there should be hard work and we should put in the sweat and tears. Who said that? Let's invert that. Let's say, how can I make this easier? Right? How can I make this step easier? Because if it's hard, that's an obstacle. We're going to look for distractions. We're going to look for excuses not to do it. And then ask, is it really hard? What do I mean by hard? Do I have lack of knowledge? Is it because I don't have enough skill? Can someone else help me here? Again, can I delegate this? How can I make this easier? And the next one is, how can I make this enjoyable? Because here's a harsh reminder that there is nothing guaranteed in our lives other than two things: that we're going to die, our bodies are going to die, and that we only have the present moment. The moment we realize this is the moment we understand that whatever this project is, whatever this goal is, whatever our life vision is, we might not attain it. We might not see it happen, but we are definitely present right now. Even if this is my dying moment, I'm present, I'm here. But tomorrow's not guaranteed. The result is not guaranteed. During my journey, even my life vision is not guaranteed. I might say, I had this extravagant, life vision. I wanted to be a billionaire and have yachts and whatnot. And I was working toward that. And then all of a sudden I have an epiphany, I don't know, an insight, and I completely changed my life vision. I say, I'll be happy with, a smaller kind of cottage. God knows what. We change, we grow, right? So the end result, again, the end result isn't concrete. So the plan isn't concrete, but what we need to make sure is important is the present moment. So when I'm doing the next task toward that goal or toward that life vision, why not make it enjoyable? Right? Like I put on music when I work, and I think I already have that somewhere in this in the workbook. That just find the music that really motivates you, that really puts you in a state of flow, that just what makes you feel like I want to dance when I'm doing this. Is my audio okay for everyone else? I think someone's experiencing issues with my audio. Sandy, it's okay? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we want to make sure again that we are having fun. Sharon, is the audio cutting out for you as well? Yeah, okay. So the next obstacles we want to tackle are what else can stop me from taking action. It can be distractions, it can be emotional baggages, emotional burdens, and overwhelm, all those things. Now, overwhelm comes from lack of clarity. Overwhelm basically means, just like I gave the example before with the pantry or the library, or let's give another example. If you open your cutlery drawer and you have thrown all your cutlery there and you're looking for, I don't know, a vegetable peeler, it's frustrating. It's going to be frustrating to find it. And it's kind of the same sensation with overwhelm. When you have so many ideas and things running in your head and they're not organized. Basically, that's what overwhelm is. But when you have clarity, when things are organized, when your thoughts are organized in projects, right? When you have the plans, you should not feel overwhelmed. So every time you feel overwhelmed, it's like, okay, where is this coming from? Where is the storm coming from? Take 3 deep breaths. Go to the eye of the storm and start picking them up one by one and writing them down, right? The brain dump, write them down and look at them. And you'll feel that the storm dissipates, the overwhelm goes away, and you have a list of things. This is kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about removing the constraints. Now, with distractions, you want to make sure to have an environment where you can focus. There are no distractions. Again, if you, I would say, watch Nir Eyal's workshop that I think Alex shared in today's newsletter. And basically, since I mentioned Nir Eyal, basically what we're doing here, you guys, is we're moving away from discomfort. Our entire aim is to move away from discomfort, right? So why do we even have goals? Why do we even want to have plans? Because if I'm okay where I am right now, I don't need to do anything. I can just be, because I'm a being, right? The only time we need to do something is to get to where we want to be, is to get out of specific discomfort, whether it's a discomfort at the moment or whether it's a discomfort in the future. So for example, let's say you are comfortable with your job, with your family, with everything right now, but you're worried about when you leave your job, when you retire, what are you going to do? How are you going to live? That discomfort idea that is discomfortable, that idea is making you want to plan things ahead. So that basically what we're doing in our lives, the action we take is to move away from discomfort. So back to our constraints. There are also questions that I've put in the workbook that you can use to kind of identify these obstacles that you might have. Now, when it comes to emotional obstacles, there might be things that we don't think about. Like right now, you might listen to me and say, wow, Anna, this is clear. And I think that I'm going to plan things and I'm going to take action and it's going to work. There are going to be a lot of obstacles that we'd never thought of. So we discussed the frustration part, which is in our control. And if we're planning right, we won't have the frustrations. And we don't have expectations, we won't have those disappointments. But there are things that might pop up because we might have emotional baggage from our childhood. We might have trauma. Those can impact us. Those can really be hold us back when we want to take action. Sometimes, like I am mentally inside, I feel like there's this person who wants to take action and they know what to do and it's easy and it's enjoyable, but something is holding me back. There might be fears. There might be grudges. You know, you want to work with someone, you know that you need to contact someone and you have grudges toward them. It stops you from taking action. So we want to identify all these things by always asking questions. That's the secret of life. Just ask the right questions and you'll find the answers and you'll get clarity and you'll know what to do next. Oops. So When it comes to one more point before I move to scheduling, and I know we are running out of time. So one more thing is with burdens. Try to get clarity, okay? As we discussed, try to get clarity on your issues. If you have still these sensations, like if you have anxiety or overwhelm, do the brain dump, try to get clarity. If you're still feeling these sensations, ask more questions, do a journaling, ask a friend, maybe even ask a coach, because sometimes we might not know the right questions. A coach or a friend can actually ask the right questions. If those people help, great. If not, dig deeper. Maybe you need to see a specialist. Some of us have trauma. Some of us have challenging abilities. I don't like to use the word disability because each one of us has an ability or this ability or that ability, okay? This ability or that ability. Which one of us has different abilities? Some of us don't have some abilities. It doesn't mean that we are disabled. So find out what challenging abilities you have that are blocking you, what abilities you lack that aren't allowing you to take action here. It means that you will need, and I think a specialist will be able to help in this case, for you to resolve the trauma, heal the wounds, find different strategies or approaches. Because most of us, when we write down steps to take or when we write down strategies, we're borrowing them from other people. And then we're like, why can't I swim? Well, because you're a bird, you can fly, unlike the fish, right? But I'm trying to swim so hard because all my friends are fish and they're swimming. So it's really important to take a step back and look at all these things. Yes, we can't resolve all of them. Sometimes we need to go to the specialist, but we can start by asking the right questions and kind of diagnosing where we need the help. That's how much we can, that's what we can do, okay? So let's go to scheduling. I hope you have more time to stay with me here because this is super important. Now, the first most important thing was to have the plan, right? We had the steps written down. We have sort of a template of, okay, I want to make sure that I have all the ingredients for this project. I want to make sure I have written down steps. And again, something that John mentioned last week, and it's super important. We need to have clarity on the target and we need to know the next step or the next few steps. We don't need to know all the steps. Sometimes that overwhelms us if we don't know all the steps, right? You wrote down the steps and then you're like, am I missing something? You might feel worried about that. It's okay. Steps will reveal themselves. Sometimes it will change. Plans will always change, by the way. So it's really important to remember that. The aim is not the actual plan. The aim is to have that clarity and sense of, I would say, sense of clarity, so that we don't feel overwhelmed or we don't feel afraid of taking that first step. Because sometimes we're afraid, like, if I take that step, what if I'm stepping off the mountain and I'm going to fall if I don't see what's coming up next? So we do need some sort of clarity, knowing, okay, most of these are manageable and I can figure out what's going to come next. I don't need to know everything right now. Plus, plans change. Don't get too attached to the plan. So I see a question here. Yeah, I'll get to that question later. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Never mind. It was while you were speaking. So yeah, okay.
Okay, so oops. So we have to talk about scheduling now, because that's kind of what we need to do with the plan before we take action. Now, one of the most important principles, again, is the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. What does this mean? It means that, first of all, not everything on your schedule is a priority. Some people might come and put an event there and you feel like, oh my God, I don't want to go to this party or don't want to join this meeting. It's up to you to decide that. it doesn't mean that they are allowed to take your time. So you need to prioritize those. But what's most important is you want to make sure you schedule the priorities, right? So we determined the priorities with the commitments last time. Now what we want to do is want to make sure that we put that in our schedule. So first we want to start, if someone else, let me make a point here, that if someone else puts an event or invites you to an event, you are allowed to think about it and say no if it doesn't work for you. Sometimes, for example, with work meeting, what I do is I ask, why am I invited? What is the importance of my presence? Am I to speak, or am I just to listen? Like what's my role in this meeting? What will how would it impact my work, and so on? Because I need to know all that. And then usually my manager would say, you know what, I'll brief you later. You don't need to attend this. And I'm like, oh, I thought I need to attend some meeting that really was awkward seeing it on my calendar even. Like, what's my role here, right? So it's important to identify that. So next thing is, there are different kind of strategies when it comes to scheduling. The things that I want to point out are that time, there is no time management. First of all, let's make that clear. We cannot manage time. We can budget time. Okay, everyone has, we don't know how much time we have in general, but we all have the 24 hours in the day, and we might not even have that. God knows when we're called to go. So what we can do is we can budget our time just like we budget money. And we want to remember the second rule, which is, if I use this time, this 1 hour for this action, I cannot use it for something else. Multitasking is really, how can I put this? It's not a helpful thing to do. Like, we can stack habits, that's a different thing, and we can talk about it if you want, but multitasking is just scattering your focus onto multiple tasks, which means you don't enjoy either of them, and you don't get the results from either of them, and you slow yourself down. So we want to make sure that when you allocate this 1 hour for this workshop, you can't be doing something else while doing this workshop. So that's the time that's gone. That's why I'm calling it budgeting time. Now, we also want to budget our energy. And we want to make sure that with time, we can't, create new time, but with energy, we can replenish ourselves. So we want to make sure that we schedule also breaks or activities that energize us. And we want to always ask this question: what am I about to do right now? Is it energy draining, or is it energy giving? How can I ensure that I can protect my energy during this next session or section of my day? Because some things are tiring and we have to do them, it's okay. But sometimes, like when I'm doing chores, I know that I'm gonna get tired and get a backache. The way I schedule it, I schedule smaller tasks to do, and I also play music with it and dance and so on, So there are different strategies you can use. But it's important to budget time and budget your energy. The next thing is also with one of the strategies that is a hype these days is time blocking or calendar blocking. Now, does calendar blocking work, or yes or no? Well, it depends on you. Calendar blocking doesn't work if you put on your calendar that you're going to watch this workshop right now, and then you don't attend, you do something else. It's up to you. It's your choice, right? So whether the strategy works or not, it's up to you. It depends on the action you take. So I'm not going to say, yes, it works, it's magic. But what is helpful about time blocks is the idea that I shared earlier, that when you allocate an hour for a task, you cannot allocate it for something else. So if you use time blocking, it helps you identify or truly estimate how much you can include in a day. Because sometimes we're like, I want to do this and that and that and that. And then the next thing comes with the estimation. But if you say, okay, let me look at my calendar, how much time do I have today? Okay, I have 3 hours. What can I do within these 3 hours? Because all the other hours are, maybe you're cooking, maybe you're going shopping, maybe you're working 8 hours for a company, maybe you're sleeping, and so on. Let's say you have 3 hours and you want to dedicate 2 hours for project and 1 hour for learning, and so on. That's how the calendar can help you budget your time. And that's how you can know that, wait a minute, I cannot listen to 5 podcasts in a day. Maybe if you're stacking it with something else, like washing the dishes, and you can focus on both of them, that's fine, without, cutting your fingers with knives, etc. That's fine. But also remember, you cannot cram information in your mind. It will start creating overwhelm, because you're going to want to think about the content that you consumed. So it's about really budgeting time and energy, as I said. Now, the second rule is, when it comes to scheduling, is the Parkinson law. Parkinson law is that any task will take as much time as you give it. So if you give a task like 2 hours, it will take you 2 hours. If you give it 5 minutes, it might take 5 minutes, might take longer, because sometimes we don't, estimate the time in a wrong way. And sometimes some tasks do actually take time. It doesn't mean that if I say I'm going to do it in 1 minute, you can. No, there are tasks that you cannot do under a specific amount of time. So that's really important. So you want to start guesstimating. So guessing and estimating time, and then gradually you'll learn how to do this. But the most important thing here to remember is that there are 2 different approaches when you put something on your calendar, or when you use blocks, or when you actually plan your action steps. And that is that you can say, I'm going to dedicate 1 hour for to do this task, or this list of tasks. Okay. And what that time means is that you want to finish this task. So the question is, do you want to finish this task in 1 hour, or do you want to make sure that you make progress on it in this 1 hour? So for example, if you take decluttering, you can say, I don't know how much time it's going to take for me to clean or declutter the closet. So I'm going to schedule 1 hour today and see what progress I make. That can be, and that's the easiest way to schedule, because you know that when the time is up, you're going to stop, and you're going to continue on another day. You're going to schedule another session to continue on another day. But the issue happens when you say, I want to finish this task in 20 minutes, and then you don't. And then it sips into the next session, and then you're playing catch up with your calendar. That's why I don't recommend for people who have never used a calendar before to time block. Because what we do is we put all the tasks back to back, we cram it, we don't schedule rest, we don't leave room for our wrong estimations. And what happens? We feel overwhelmed, we feel catch up, we're playing catch up, we're not enjoying the sessions anymore, and we're rushing through things. So the next thing is create principles. What do I mean by create principles? Principles are more important than strategies, and more powerful than strategies, because there are a million strategies out there and they might all work. It's not about strategy, just like diets. A lot of diets might work, a lot of diets might not work. One size doesn't fit all. Everyone can find the different strategies. That's why I'm not actually going to recommend any tools, but I do use Google Calendar usually, but I do use pen and paper mostly. So what I do is I write down the times in 30 minutes increments, right? I write 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m. I write them down. And then as the day goes, I plan what I need to do. So for example, I plug in all the meetings I have. So I know that I need to, I have, for example, I had this meeting call at 6 p.m. So I had it down for 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. That's those 2 30-minute blocks are for this workshop, and I cannot do anything else for that. So what I do is, okay, at 5:30, I need to prepare myself for this workshop. Let's say I want to have lunch at 2. I plug all the things on there, and then based on what time remains, it's easier for me to do it on piece of paper instead of the computer, because I feel it's too cluttered on the computer. Although it's easier for you to move things around, but it feels like you have to move things around a lot, and you don't want to do that. When it comes to scheduling, you want to stick to the schedule. Having that convenience of easily changing things, sometimes it becomes, a way of procrastinating and changing things. So I use kind of that paper. So with principles, what principles do is principles actually are blocks that, or ideas that, or rules that you set for your plan, okay? It's a game plan. So for example, I have rules like, or principles like, I will fix and not replace, because something that's really can become a trend these days is that if something doesn't work, we replace it instead of trying to fix it. And the key here is this: if you have used a tool to manage your projects before, or if you've used any kind of strategy and it's working, do not ever change it. Even if someone shows you a shiny new app, do not change it. Remember the graph I showed you with the energy, the Bruce Lee quote. You're going to start with a new tool from scratch. You have no experience, you have no practice with it. And I'm actually did this mistake with my financial tracking tool. I was super efficient with tracking my finances. And when I changed my app, now I'm not tracking it anymore because I just didn't like the new app, couldn't use it. It was all new. And I'm like, I don't want to go back to my previous one. So don't change things if they are working. And if there's a teeny tiny thing that's not working in that app or tool, think about fixing that or improving that instead of looking for a replacement. It saves you a ton of research on replacement tools. It also saves you a lot of energy and also frustration. So that would be my tip. Another principle I have is I will not change what is working, as I said, and I won't block or add any tasks during my rest time, because I am the type of person who actually wants to do things. I cannot sit without doing anything. I feel like something's wrong. So I made this principle for myself and I said, please, Anna, do not schedule anything else. So it was supposed to end like 30 minutes ago. I'm sorry, I'm going over time, but I'm almost done with this session. I know we need to do more sessions related to these. These are really important and helpful here, I know, but most of this, by the way, is in your workbook. So go ahead and read that, okay? So you can create principles or rules like this for you. And what I like about the word principle is that I feel like I need to stick with it. Okay, so the next thing is, and I'm sorry I'm rushing because I know that I want to respect your time, you guys. And so the next thing is, which is important, is creating rituals, because the best way to do our habits specifically is with rituals. And it's easier for me to schedule this on my calendar. And here's what I learned, you guys. This year, I was a planner. I used to plan everything every hour. This year, I'm living more to spontaneity. It doesn't mean I'm not scheduling. I'm scheduling my projects, but I'm not scheduling every single thing. Meaning, I know that I will allocate an hour for my morning ritual, but it's not on my calendar. Why? Because sometimes I wake up late. And it doesn't mean that, okay, I woke up at 10, everything before 10 on my calendar is either rescheduled or I don't get to do them. And guess where's my ritual? it's at 7 a.m. I won't do it ever. So my principle is I get to do 1 hour of morning ritual whenever I wake up. Even if I wake up at noon, I'm not doing anything before I do my ritual. And it's been amazing. Trust me, it has changed the entire my entire kind of day, because if I don't meditate, if I don't do my exercises, if I don't do all those things on in my ritual, I'm having a very, very bad day. So that's why I don't put it on my schedule, like as in time. And also that's a principle. Now, what are rituals? Real quick here. We have habits. We stack those habits and make a routine. And then we elevate them into rituals. Now, the difference is that rituals are things that you really get engaged in, you're present in, you really enjoy. It becomes kind of like a ceremony, right? And it's focused on the experience itself. And that's when it becomes enjoyable. I had meditation as my sacred choice for years, and I never did it. I've been, where's my phone? I don't know how many days of a streak it's been right now. Let's see, meditation. 40 days. 40 days straight, and I'm doing 20 minutes each day. Why? Because it became part of my morning ritual. And if it's a ritual, you guys, you're just, I don't know, I do it. I feel like I do it because I really enjoy that experience, and it's amazing. So that's also about creating rituals. And last but not least, harness the presence of the power of the presence. As we said earlier, we only have the present moment. Why not enjoy what we planned, right? So we have our projects, we have all the steps we want to take. We schedule these steps on our calendar. We want to say, okay, based on urgency, do I need to do something from this list toward my life vision every single day or every week or every month, depending on the type of goal or, again, the urgency of it, or when is my deadline. And that's why deadlines are important. Remember Parkinson's law, because if you don't have a deadline, it's going to take years from you. And then we come down to the present moment. And as I showed you earlier, I even planned this kind of, not the moment, but the moment and what surrounds it, which I call a session, right? Like, for example, this workshop. I do the preparation. I'm here focused with you. I have my glass of water. I made sure I visited the bathroom before the workshop, so I'm still comfortable right now. And I'm fully present with you all. And I'm enjoying this. And that's why it's taking forever for me to finish this workshop right now. But I hope this has been helpful, and you got a lot of insights on how to plan your commitments before we take action next week. Please make sure to check your workbook. I have a lot of exercises for you there, and I'll share the link again with the recording in the same event. And that was it all from me for now. If you have any questions or you want to share anything, please, the time is now. And sorry, I went over time.
I just want to say thank you. And I'm just wondering, for you, are you still optimizing things, or are you at a space, at a spot where you say, okay, I'm good now, like I'm good with the planning, with my strategies, or is this whole topics a never-ending story? That's something I'm wondering right now.
It is a never-ending story, because we can't stop optimizing. We'll keep optimizing, and we'll talk about optimization in the 4th session of this challenge. So basically what we do is, what we're doing with what I taught today is, when you start planning, you're standardizing something. You're trying to make it a standard. Once it becomes a standard, once you find that you can move with this flow, you'll start iterating, you'll start customizing, right? So it's like, it's easier, it's enjoyable. You remove the things that you don't want to do, the tasks that feel like, oh my God, why am I even spending this much time on it? You identify how much time it takes, you simplify it, you create automations and systems, which we will talk about again in the 4th session. That's how you optimize it. Eventually, it does get to a place where you have an optimized system, unless you do mistakes and change the system altogether and start from zero. So it does get to a place of optimization. And that's where I think those people who in Japan with the ikigais are focused on that one direction, I think they have it all optimized and there. But every time you add something new to your life, it's again back to starting from zero, standardizing, customizing, optimizing. But if you are really truly focused on one thing, there is a place where you get that it's fully optimized. What you're doing is just adding finesse to it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome.
It was, yeah, I just want to share one of the biggest takeaways. There have been so much, but it's really to, when I do time block, decide, do I want to make progress or do I want to finish it? Because if that's not clear, what I've experienced in the past is that frustration comes up and then it's this catching up thing that you were talking about. So that's something I'm definitely going to put into action, to always just like when I block anything, to always set, okay, what do I want there? So yeah, thank you very much, and it's been really nice. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, remember your essential intent, right? If you set for every session before you start, like before you take the next step today, let's say I finish this workshop, what am I going to do next? How do I prepare for it? And what's my essential intent? The first question should be, what's my essential intent? Essential intent means like the bare minimum. If I get this done, that's it. That's enough. And that's why you get focused and you don't get distracted when you have that really, like you have clarity about what you want to get done at the end of this session, right? Awesome. Any other questions? Thanks for staying, you guys, longer. I should have done this last time too. I mean, we had, I had to cut down short because I wanted to respect your time, but I realized we have so much to cover today and I didn't want to kind of leave at that, because the aim of this challenge truly is for you to get the clarity on what takes you closer to your life vision, to know how to plan it and to enjoy it. And then next week, we're going to talk about how to take action and make progress. And last week, we were going to talk about optimization systems and tools so that we really make this journey enjoyable. Because remember, we only have this moment. And I'm super thankful for you, everyone at this moment. Truly, truly blessed to have you all join this session.